In this lesson, we review the activity on paragraph writing from your resource pack. Look at the question based on the paragraph on the social causes of the French Revolution. This question stated, using the information in the sources as well as the notes, write a paragraph of 8 to 10 lines explaining how the privileged classes exploited and undermined the members of the Third Estate in France before the Revolution. That's the Revolution of 1789. I'd like you to refer to page 6 of the resource pack, which has the question, as well as, very importantly, the Peel method of writing paragraphs and essay writing. So here we're looking at the paragraph writing. And if you refer to page 6, you will go back to the reference to PEEL, that's the acronym. The word P referring to making a point or the central argument in your topic sentence, following up with the evidence to back up your central argument, then furthering it with an explanation, and then bridging the gap between the sentences with a transition sentence. Transition means a linking sentence to the next idea or point. So let's begin. Going back to the question, using the information in the sources as well as the notes, write a paragraph explaining how the privileged classes exploited and undermined the members of the Third Estate in France before the Revolution. So I'm just going to use a few colors to highlight some important words or keywords. Here we are being asked firstly to explain. That's our instruction keyword. Explain, you will remember I told you, is asking you to tell the reader more. When you explain, you tell the reader more. You're going to tell me more about how, that's the next keyword, how the privileged classes exploited and undermined the members of the Third Estate. So there are a few words here. Explain, you're going to tell me more. How means in what way the privileged classes, that's the First and Second Estate, exploited and undermined the members of the Third Estate. Exploited means took advantage of. Undermined means they disregarded the fact that they too were humans and they embarrassed and humiliated them in certain situations. I have here an example of what could be a relevant paragraph. Now, this is a guideline. You would have written your own paragraph. As long as you have the key points, your paragraph will be relevant. Remember, use the Peel method. So ask yourself, did you use the first aspect of answering a paragraph question, and that is expressing the key idea in your topic sentence by making a very strong or valid point? Your opening sentence must immediately reflect what is being asked in the question. So as an example, this opening sentence or topic sentence states, the First and Second Estate in France exploited. Here, immediately you see the use of the word from the question, which is absolutely accurate. Exploited the Third Estate because the class structure deepened the inequality between the rich and the poor. So you can see here that in this example of an answer, the writer is focusing on the question by referring to the exploitation of the Third Estate, and is also showing that there is reference to the division in the society which led to the Third Estate being undermined. They talk of the class structure in French society. You will recall the French society was divided into the first, second, and third estate, which created the inequality between the rich and poor. Inequality means a society where there are extremely rich people and the vast majority generally are very poor. South Africa is a typical example of this. Being part of the third estate meant to be part of the unprivileged classes. This here is reference, of course, to the middle class, the working class, and peasants who belong to the third estate. Therefore, they were the ones who paid taxes. Now, just to clarify, it's not saying that the first two didn't pay taxes at all. This sentence refers to, in fact, we can qualify this, they were the ones who paid most of the taxes. Although the bourgeoisie, who you will recall were the middle class, were mostly rich and were able to pay them, that's the taxes, their frustration or anger was that they could not rise to be part of the first two estates. Now you may remember that the middle class were actually quite wealthy. They were educated, many of them were professionals, but they could not get into the first or second estate because they had not been born into one of those two estates. So here you see the qualifying explanation. They were denied titles such as lords, they were denied positions in the government and status in society. So if you go back here, this is an example of they were undermined. That's an example that shows that they qualified to be part of any sector of society, but because they were born into the third estate, they were not allowed this right. Coming back to the peasants were not in the same financial situation as the middle class, meaning they did not have the financial resources that the middle class had. So in what way were they exploited? Peasants were burdened by heavy taxation, and I've highlighted this in different colors to show you what the key points are here which need to be discussed. They pay taxes to the king, to the church, taxes and dues to the lords or the nobility, as well as a number of taxes on salt, bread, and wine. Consequently, meaning therefore, they claimed that there should be more financial equality. So this, in other words, was their demand. They were saying it was totally unfair that they should be exploited, abused in this way. Again, a reference to the question that it was they who had to carry the large burden of taxes in the country. They claimed for the abolition of many taxes. Abolition means bringing an end or removal of these taxes, such as the corvée and the till. Now, if you look at this paragraph, it covers the key aspects of the demands of the question. And if you were to present this paragraph as an answer, you would definitely obtain a mark of 10.